Slow down, you move too fast. Gotta make the morning last. Kicking down the cobblestones. Looking for fun, feeling groovy. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-dum, feeling groovy.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome, welcome, welcome. This is our 90th episode, and we're welcoming David Heaps with us today. And David's got, he's going to introduce himself in a minute. But Sandy, before we get started, have you got a quote for us?
I sure do. Especially at this point in our life, it's good to remember it is never too late to be what you might have been, and that's by George Eliot. So even at this age, at retirement for you and I, Sue, it's never too late. We can still figure out what we might have been because we can become that.
That's right. I believe that. Well, David, welcome. And we're glad to have you with us and glad you chose to join us. And I'm going to give you a chance to kind of introduce yourself. And then Sandy and I usually kind of come in with some, hopefully they're not annoying questions, but
we can't promise anything, David.
That goes both ways. I can't promise anything either. So,
all right, great. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really glad to be here and to meet you both. And I really appreciate the opportunity to have the format that you described, just very organic and just having fun. So,
all right.
Excuse me. Yeah. I don't know how much you want me to get into, but basically I've been an executive coach for about 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was about 40 years old, speaking of, thinking it was too late for myself.
Yeah.
I had lived a very particular kind of life up until that point and hit a very serious reset button for myself. Literally, maybe a few days within my 40th birthday. And it was not to become an executive coach. That was not on my radar. It was not something that I was aiming at all.
Mm-hmm.
But in the next couple of years, it's something that simply materialized and just landed in my lap, and it's just developed from there. So anyway, so here I am doing my best and really, really, really loving what it is I do.
Great, great. So what was your background before executive coaching landed in your lap?
Well, before that, professionally, I spent many, many years in accounts receivable management.
Mm-hmm.
Right out of school, I went to work for a credit card issuer. I wanted to go to school and work. I didn't want to take out student loans, and so I ended up being a bill collector for a really big credit card issuer, and that role just led to more responsibility and more responsibility. And then, 15 years later, I was COO of a mid-sized debt buying organization. I'd moved from the primary to the secondary market, spent probably half my time in accounts receivables management on the secondary market, if you know much about that. Anyway. So anyway, that's kind of where I spent, that's where I cut my teeth and really got into and started learning about leadership and operations and strategy and all the wonderful things that go into that.
Sure. Was it, you said it kind of hit you. Was it an intuitive hit that you needed to leave? Was it a lack of energy and, liking what you were doing, or what were the signals?
The signals actually came about 5 years prior, and well, maybe even longer. Honestly, it might have been 6 or 7 years earlier. I just got to the point where I really enjoyed what I did, and I really enjoyed the people, and I was good at it, and I made good money and all the things. And I also got to the point where, maybe the last year that I was in the last role I was in, it was really too easy. And I worked about 45 hours a week probably, but I could have done everything within, 15, 20 hours a week. And so I was just feeling, I don't want to say bored, but underneath that boredom, I just knew that I was capable of a lot more, and I didn't know really what that meant. I had just come through many years of, different struggles, and I just feel like I was ready to go a different direction and have a life that was more meaningful and deeper. And again, I didn't really know what that meant. It was, you talked at the beginning about trusting your intuition. It was a very strong intuition. And so I'll just share one story if it's okay.
Sure, absolutely.
I was just getting ready to, I used to live in Denver, and I lived right across the street from a park. And on Saturday mornings when the weather was nice, I liked to, just get dressed and walk across the park. And there was this restaurant that I liked to go to, and it was just kind of a little ritual of mine. And as I was getting ready this particular morning, I got dressed, and I literally, I remember my hand grabbing the doorknob, and this, I'm getting chills talking about this. I haven't told this story for so long. But I had something just hit me, just grip me. And I had to walk back into my bedroom and lay down because I was like immediately just overcome with this nausea and this sense of dread, this feeling of doom. And it was scary.
Yeah.
I'd never had, I'm a really healthy guy. I'd never had anything like this happen before. I'd had a panic attack before, and it felt a little like that. And so I laid back on the bed, and I just remember staring up at my ceiling and feeling my heart. My heart was about to, beat through my chest. And then as I was sitting there, it felt like a knee just come down on my chest, and I felt pinned down.
Wow.
And I was really scared. And I heard this voice, but not a voice audibly, a voice inside of me.
Right.
Though it did have a quality to it that I could describe it if I had to. And it basically just said, if you don't get out now, you're never going to do it.
Wow.
And I knew exactly what that meant.
Yeah.
I mean, oh man, it just told me everything. So I spent the next year kind of getting ready for a big exit, selling the house and getting rid of like everything, and, preparing my job for my exit. And I literally, just kind of blew up my life. And that was at 35. And so it was about, I'm so sorry. I think I lost your original question because I kind of got.
It's just,
You're good. You're good.
you're fine. We asked about your journey, and this is part of it. So.
Yeah. So, quitting and leaving the country, and really I planned a big trip to go to India and just spend as much time there. I don't know why. I kind of threw a dart in a map, and it just ended up being like one of the most difficult places you can travel to. And I hadn't really done any traveling outside the country, but really the intention was to disconnect from my culture, my comfort, my life, and really burn the bridges, burn the boats, because I knew when I got back, I was going to get scared, and I was going to want to grab onto that safe, become a leader somewhere and get a paycheck and do all the things. I knew that was not a matter of if, it was a matter of when. So I really needed to make it as difficult for myself as I possibly could to grab back onto that edge when I tried to grab on. So I'll just kind of drop there and let you.
Okay. Sure. Well,
Did it feel like it was a spiritual journey, David, that you were on? It sounds like it was something that hit you completely, holistically, but did it feel more of a spiritual knowing inside your heart?
Well, I don't honestly know the difference between spiritual and anything else. That it just was, right? Yeah, it was as deep a knowing as I had ever experienced in my life. So is that spiritual to somebody? Yes. To somebody else, it's deeply human.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
however you want to interpret that, it was impactful enough that I did what I told you I did.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that when you're looking at the whole person, I think again, like you said, depends. There's different terms for it, but I think there's a spiritual emphasis or a spiritual part of our holistic look at human beings that will let us know. And you can call it intuition. You can call it. I mean, it's a lot of things you could put on it, but I think that that's part of our makeup as humans.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, I agree. And it doesn't really matter what we call it, does it?
Right, right. You can still feel it. You can still sense it. Know something is telling you, that you're hearing from your gut. Something is impacting your life.
Yeah.
and it's very, I'm going to use a word, and because it's very courageous that you did what you did. You felt the knee on your chest and you said, I got to do it now or it's not going to happen. And that is very entrepreneurial. And the fact that it happened to you at such an early age, I mean, 35, 40 is pretty early. A lot of times it takes people to their 60s to get to the point where they listen to that voice.
Right.
So talk to me about courage. Were you always courageous? Did it start then? How are you? We have kind of a series we call the spirit of entrepreneurship. And just because you've done what you've done qualifies you as an entrepreneur. But talk to me a little bit about courage and your life. It probably started before then.
Yeah. Though I wouldn't have always been able to necessarily look back and look at earlier versions of myself and characterize some of those actions as courageous. But I'll just give you one example because within the last few years, it's something that I've been able to really understand and reframe from a much deeper place. This is really cool. I didn't really expect to be talking about this stuff, so I really appreciate the question. This is great.
Good.
I just want to make it as economical as I can also, though.
Do what you would do. Just relax.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm totally relaxed.
We're having fun.
I'm also trying to be considerate of my audience and not like drag you through a bunch of unnecessary stuff. So
Your story
it's one of my things.
Your story is important, David, and that's one of the things is that when we come together meeting on the bridge and share who we are, somebody else can connect with it.
Yeah, I agree completely. Thank you. I really appreciate the encouragement. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I guess something that I would have characterized as a wound that I lived with for, I'm 52 now, at least for the first, 47, 48 years of my life, was this, well, there was an event that happened when I was in third grade that was really, boy, man, did it leave a mark. And I had a teacher, I raised my hand to answer a question in class, and I had a teacher, instinctively, I want to say she humiliated me. I now understand that was not at all what she was intending to do, but that was how it landed on me at my young age.
Right.
And it really hurt. And so I interpreted that as I had made a decision at that point that I was not going to raise my hand, and I had I intuited that, I guess school is for people to come and show what they know, not to come and actually fall down and get things wrong and then be corrected, and which is definitely the way I learn, But a couple years ago, So anyway, I'd been carrying that around for a long time, and it really informed, who I was as an adult in all the ways that tends to show up in person. But about 3, 4 years ago, I was at the I was at the airport with my wife. We were going. I think we were headed back to Salt Lake to see my family, and we had just sat down on the plane, and I just sat back in my seat, and I had never experienced anything like this, but I have done well. Okay, gosh, that's another thing I could open up. I've been an apprenticing shaman for about 13 years, and so I've done a lot of work with different master plants and ayahuasca, and so I'm very familiar with that experience. Well, uh, none of that was anywhere near me at this point. We were at the airport, and we got on the plane. We sat down, and I noticed that I was going into something like a ceremony as we were just sitting down and the plane was filling up, and I was just like, oh, this is not good, because they can get a little gnarly sometimes. And so I just leaned over to my wife and I said, listen, something's happening and I don't really understand it, but I'm going to close my eyes. And if I start to act out or do anything strange, you have my permission to do whatever you need to do, but I'm going to just close my eyes and see what this is about. So I closed my eyes, and it was very much like a very kind of ayahuasca-esque kind of journey. And it took me back to that moment that I described for you guys, where I had gotten shut down. And I had done a lot of work around this event. And so I found it interesting that I was back there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just, I was in this scene, I was noticing what I was noticing, but I also had this sense like, yeah, I've been here before. I've done a lot of work around this. I'm not really sure why this is important for me to go back into.
Right.
And so something like the ground of that vision sort of opened up, and I went deeper into it. That's the only way. Those are the words I have to explain that.
Right.
And sorry, you get a little emotional.
It's okay.
That's okay.
That's talking to your heart.
I don't know how to talk either way. But the reason why I get emotional is because I made contact with that little guy in a way I had not made contact previously, and I'd done a lot of work with him,
Right, your inner child.
But I had also retained this view of him that he was kind of a victim. He had been put upon. He had been wounded. When I went more deeply into that, I saw, I got a much deeper understanding of what I was actually doing and what was happening and that moment with that teacher was just the event that helped me get over that hump of the decision I was already trying to make. And it's a little strange, but the decision that was in front of me, and I'm talking like second, third grade. I'm just a kid.
Right.
I'm looking around at this system. I'm looking around at this thing they're calling, I'm sorry, I want to get the quotes in there, education. And it was not for me at all. And I knew it. And that was the moment that I decided, no, I'll show up. I'll come to school. I'll go through the motions. But this is not the thing that decides who I am. No. This is not where my education is going to happen. I am responsible for my education. I'm taking it in my own hands, and I'll do it the way I need to do it. And I knew even then that what I need hands-on. I need to fall down. I need to fail. I need to get corrected. I need feedback. It is a messy process for me. Right. And that is the source of the wisdom that I carry.
Sure.
Is I have a very, very deep reservoir of understanding and wisdom around what does not work.
Okay.
That's a lot of empowerment. It's a lot of empowerment, especially at a young age, to come to that realization, David. I mean, that's deep thinking for a kid.
Well, and that's probably the moment that you decided, even though you didn't have a word for it, that you were an entrepreneur because you're going outside the box and you were going to learn what you needed to learn, not what school told you.
Yeah, I would even use a different word. I would use the word a sovereign. You know,
Tell us about that. What is?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
there's.
the word.
I'm not beholden to anything.
Right.
I
Okay.
am responsible. I mean, I guess the simple, easy way to say the buck starts and stops right here.
So you really started to hold your own agency.
Yeah.
Who you were.
Yeah.
And you were dogged about pursuing that. You had to do double because you were in the classroom. But one thing that that I've purported for years is that no matter how old you are, judgment shuts down learning.
Mm.
And we have a whole bunch of little kids and a whole bunch of adults that are shut down to learning because way back when, it probably was, I think mine was kindergarten.
Mm.
When somebody said something and boy, that shut me up. I wasn't going there again. And so you experienced that, and it's very profound that you did, and that you really kind of realized what it was. Very intuitive and very bright of you to understand that at that age, because
Right.
the third grade-ish is a very vulnerable age, of receiving feedback and kind of get, I'm not in line, so I better get in line type of thing. So that's really powerful.
The interesting thing about that, though, and what I was able to understand in that experience on the plane is that what I just described to you was I was not conscious of that when I was a kid. It was
Okay.
it was a deeper knowing.
Okay.
So I carried around a lot of beliefs for a lot of years,
Got it.
totally misunderstanding
Right.
what had happened and my response to it. It wasn't until a long time, many years later, that I really was able to really understand what that was. And now, so when I look back at that little guy, my heart just fills up when I think about him, because I just want to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Right.
survived. And I used to teach at a technical college for a while and taught communication and stuff. And most of the people in that school were shut down learners. They didn't think they were smart.
Yeah.
And what I told them is, you guys, you are hands-on learners, and hands-on learners have an advantage over book learners, because book learners have to pick up the book and look at it. Hands-on learners, once you've done it, in your body,
Yeah.
have to look at the manual. You're smarter. You can, you're much more of an engineer. You can, you can do it because it's in you, and it's a much more powerful way to learn. And yet, standard school shuts that off.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever read the book Weapons of Mass Instruction.
No.
Oh my gosh.
You'll have to
That
pick
will change your life. My gosh. It is so excellent. It's excellent.
Do you know who wrote it? I'll look it up.
I can't think of his name off the top of my head. He
Weapons.
was an 8th grade teacher for 20 something years in the New York public school system. This guy, he's not around anymore. But this book just, oh my gosh, it was a life changer. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying, David, is that it revealed to you on the plane what this little guy knew but didn't name or didn't understand. And it became real to you. It was revealed to you when you were on the plane, and you understood, looking back then, what you didn't understand when you were younger. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's exactly right. Yes.
Okay.
And I really needed that at that moment, because though I didn't know it at the time, I was about to walk through a fire that I was not ready for. And it really steadied me for that little journey,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, talk to me how do you meet the needs of your clients, knowing what you know about learning and style and who they are? How do you meet their needs?
Well, it's not, I don't use a template.
Really?
Well,
No.
good for you. Good for you.
It's so much fun because each person is so unique. And my gift, I guess this is not rehearsed. I don't know what's about to come out of my mouth, so hopefully it makes sense.
That's okay. That's okay.
We're
I
learning.
don't think it's shock us.
Yeah. Each person is so different, so unique, and I love it because to me, it's this multi-dimensional puzzle, and the way that shows up. I'm gonna answer your question, but it might take a second to get there. The way it shows up in me is the doorway for me with a client is usually is what is the biggest thing that is holding you back? Like, what is your biggest problem that keeps showing up?
Right.
And then I take them into an experience where they are able to gain their own insight, a new understanding of why it is they are continuing to repeat a particular pattern in their life. And then I give them a really practical step that they can take to start getting that under control.
Mhm.
And so some people run away from that. Some people aren't sure what to do with that, and some people are ready to face it and to really get into it. And so for the people that are curious, my process is to simply to start there, and then to start to let my curiosity absolutely take the wheel, because my curiosity, what it feels like on the inside of me, is I cannot wait to hear the next thing out of their mouth. I just can't wait. I have to know. I have to, yes, more. Tell me, explain what is. So anyway, as they're talking and as they're having this person who can't wait to hear the next thing, just pull this, this jumbled whatever out of them, it starts to paint this beautiful picture for me. Every time they talk, every time they start opening up, and it starts to expand and starts to deepen and really create this amazing picture. Sorry, I'm putting my hands all over the place. And so my job is to help them, because they're not consciously aware of what I'm seeing, is to help them see what they're trying to help themselves see. And that's the art. Because I can't just say, listen, here's the picture, this is what's on it. They have to be able to walk into that themselves and see it for themselves. And that's the journey.
Yeah, that's the art of being a coach.
Yeah.
It's being really listening, being there and really listening, and then asking curious questions. It reminds me of a song, and I can't remember who did it back in the 60s and 70s, that the line was, and so become yourself. And that's what a coach helps people gain some clarity about the direction that they're going, and you're using your intuition all the time, it sounds
Totally.
like.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So David, this is so interesting. So my background was early childhood education, and we set up the environment so that any of the ages of the kids could come in and learn something new, hands-on, wherever they were developmentally, so that it was individualized to them, and that we were able to come along and help them with that learning by asking the open-ended questions and helping them process. For instance, like you said, templates. We didn't put coloring books out. We wanted kids to be able to explore and be able to make their own picture and be able to use their own creativity and have it more open-ended, and the kind of learning that you're talking about. And, we set the stage for success no matter where development took the students. And it was an individualizing thing, because that they were experiencing it at where they were and where they were ready to learn, and giving them a chance to do it over and over again so that they could really have a skill. And I love what you're saying, because I so believe in that's the best way to educate, instead of making it be just, like you said, template, or just like so structured that somebody can't think outside the box and do something. And so much is learned in by making mistakes, like you said, asking questions, making mistakes, that kind of thing. We actually learn more, I think, when we make a mistake or when it doesn't work out. We can go back and say, okay, so how would I do this different? And I think a lot of learning happens. But you're correct. When I was growing up too and going to school, it wasn't cool to not get the answer right. And I think there's a lot that can happen and a lot of communication that can be done in saying, okay, so how could we look at this again, and what could we do differently? And a teacher could actually facilitate something like that if they have the tools to do that with.
Yeah, the curiosity, curiosity, and I think curiosity and lifelong learning are two of the major leadership traits that I think everyone needs to have. But there's some people can't do it, or they have find a hard time doing it because they've been blocked, But that sounds really good. So now you just told us what your most favorite thing about coaching is. It's just painting that picture and helping people identify with it and move forward in what they're doing.
If I could just add a little bit, because while you both were talking, Sandy, I had a couple things just kind of dropping in.
Yeah.
As maybe a part two, because what I described for you guys is really just part of, or at least at the core of my own joy. Like it really is, just feels good and it's fun. And, I just, you achieve that place of that sense of timelessness. And, I'm completely in that zone where I'm not having to think, it's just, I'm just, it's bliss for me.
Right.
But the enjoyment, like the satisfaction, and comes from realizing my objective, and that is to make my participation in their life obsolete.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what I'm going for is not taking something that's in me and handing it to you, but helping you uncover and learn how to extract and cultivate self-knowledge so that your inner authority becomes your true north. Right. And the trust in yourself it's everything. And of course, the system that we live in is does not do that.
No, but it's interesting because your email address, I think, does it say leadering in it? I really like that.
Yeah, thank you.
I do. And it's my premise, we come into the world and we get promoted and we're leaders, but we're leaders usually of groups, big groups. We're leaders of small groups, our family, any, social groups and stuff. But the leader we usually forget about is ourselves.
Oh, yes.
And we really can't do any good leadering without first self-leadership.
Absolutely. There is no leadership without self-leadership first.
Right.
Otherwise you just make as I find all the time with people that I encounter, you just make messes and you wonder why your business and your home life and everything is, you might be making money, you might be successful, but you get inside and just look at a few things and it is a mess. We make big messes, We
do. And it sometimes takes years and years to discover that. It's almost like we learn, we go inside out, we should be coming up from the foundation. But it's very often because, we can't really blame our parents and our teachers because most of them did the best they could. But there's so much wounding, and getting wounded as a child, you don't understand it. And you don't have anyone to process it with.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of stays there as a gaping wound until you take the time to help yourself heal.
That's maybe one of the most, sorry, did I cut you off, Sandy?
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
That's maybe one of the most important places that I start with clients, is helping them kind of map and map their core belief structures.
Mhm.
Because I find that everybody has quite a few, but they have 3 or 4 that really show up and run the show, and they show up in all kinds of ways.
Yeah.
And people don't know, first of all, how to even interpret the signals that show up in their mind and their body.
Mhm.
And then most people just kind of stop at the intellectual understanding,
Yeah.
and they find that that doesn't actually change anything. I've had clients who knew something. I might point something out, and they might say, "Yeah, I learned this like 10 years ago." Then why do you have a trail behind you for the last 10 years that shows that you don't understand this? Because you haven't integrated that understanding. You haven't actually metabolized it. You haven't actually ground it into your body and had a real understanding. And here's the key: had it change your behavior in those moments when you want to do the habitual addictive thing and choose the thing that's most comforting. You actually have the awareness and the presence within yourself to go, oh, this is that thing I always do, and this is the environment I create by continuing to make that choice.
Sure.
But there's this other thing I could choose.
Mhm.
And if you don't slow down, if you don't have the inner awareness to even see it, then you just continue to repeat the old patterns,
Right.
even though you might have a tremendous
Mhm.
intellectual understanding. It is worthless unless you are actually practicing making choices that conflict with the things that make you comfortable.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
knowledge is not wisdom. There's two differences. You can know a lot, but if you are not able to turn on that wisdom and be able to have it become something, like you said, become a part of who you are. So there's a couple things that I thought of while you were visiting, David, about the process. I think sometimes our lives have to get messy before they can get better. I think a lot of times it has to, it sounds to me like some of the darkest times that you were dealing with was when the light shone the brightest afterwards. You turned that corner.
Mhm.
Another thing I would share with you and what you were saying, my dad had a sign in his office that said, if you feed a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach him how to fish, you feed him for the rest of his life. And that's what you're saying, is that you're not imparting your thoughts on them. You're helping them figure out their thoughts for themselves. And I think that's why a lot of times counseling, they don't tell you what to do. They say they know that people have to find it within themselves to be able to make it real and give them a motivation to move forward and make the changes in their lives that they need to, in their learning, in their life choices, all of the things that make us who we are as humans.
Mhm. And oftentimes, if we keep, I'm going to call it the pretending bubble going of, we're following our intellect, our body shuts down because we haven't listened to it. We can get sick. We can, the body doesn't like not being listened to. It won't tolerate it forever.
No, absolutely not. And just the way you phrased that, listening to the body, is something that is like, there are most people I encounter would consider that statement woo-woo. Like, that's out there. That is not out there. That is as basic as it gets if you're willing to actually sit down for a second and pay attention and really understand what that means. But as you were talking, I realized that I received a text from a client like right before I got on this podcast, and I was wondering if I could read it to you.
Sure.
Because I think, first of all, he's very eloquent, but I think this speaks exactly to what we're talking about. He just sent this out of the blue. I'll make sure I edit it so I don't give anything away, but he just says, I wrote this today. Do not let your view of your own worth come from others. Do not let your sacred center be tread upon by people who mock it, minimize it, or call it too much. Do not contort yourself to fit into stories you don't want to live inside of. Do not settle for anything. Find your own worth in who you know yourself to be. Find your own worth in the eyes and behavior of those who not only know you, but also love what they see. Let only those who have proven themselves to hold your sacred center with reverence, care, responsibility walk the holy places inside you. Simply be who you are and who you were meant to be. Be who God said you are and shake the dust off your sandals in response to those who do not see or fully appreciate who you are. Sit with the author and say, I will be still and know that you are God and I am who I am because you are, and I have nothing to prove. And then he says, it took me 49 years to come to this lesson. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Then he puts this biblical verse, Matthew 7:6. Do not give what is holy to dogs. Do not throw your pearls before swine, or they will trample them underfoot and turn and tear you to pieces.
That is really awesome.
Yeah.
And I believe that. I believe we were created, and that there's so much to learn in being the best that we can be.
Mm-hmm. And plugging our ears to the outside noises.
Yeah.
And looking straight ahead at who God knows what we are.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That might be the most important thing I could say is, if I were to say, like, what do? I help people connect and step into and live from their own wisdom, because we all have that.
That's right.
That spark, that center.
Yeah. It's there if we choose to find it.
Yeah.
If we take the time, like you were saying, David, a lot of times people don't take the time to reflect and figure out who they are and where they're going and what their destination is. And you're exactly right. Those are so important to know those answers.
Yeah. And so often we think we have to impress others, and really, if we live the life of direction for ourselves, we make more of an impact on their lives than talk or any kind of protocols or whatever. So, so before we kind of wrap up, do you have? Well, you kind of just said it. I mean, and what you just said sort of would be a great tagline. I don't know if you've got a tagline, but what is one piece of advice that you might have for our listeners if they're kind of starting a journey?
If they're kind of starting a journey. Well, I don't usually give advice, and my tagline is actually master the mind behind the mission.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
I like that.
Well, that was good, not advice, but a good statement. You don't have to give advice. Coaches aren't supposed to give advice.
But if I were just to offer, encouragement, maybe that's how I would frame it. It's so cliche to say, and it's fine, because you do find at some point that the cliches were right.
Yeah.
And when you step into it for yourself and you kind of discover it for yourself, it's fresh, it's new, because that's why they said that okay. It really is to follow that, whatever that thing inside of you that wants to be expressed. If you when I did it all those years ago, I put a little time limit on myself and said, 2-3 years. It did not take me 2-3 years. I'm still in it. And this was a long time ago. This is almost 20 years ago. And it doesn't come in our time. It comes in the time that it comes. But if you have a feeling in you, if you have that intuition that you are supposed to point yourself in a particular direction, you can trust that and just hang on and don't stop. Don't give up. It's true. The intuition that you have is correct.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of that. I don't know who said it, but when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Amen.
And so the timing isn't, it's nothing we can predict.
And that teacher comes in many forms.
That is for sure.
That is for sure.
And me on the chest. And
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So
it got your attention, right, David?
It definitely got my attention. Yes.
We kind of wrap up by doing what's one takeaway. So David, I'll let you start, then Sandy, and then I'll close.
One takeaway is I was just noticing my own mind before I got on this podcast, and I'd made up all these ideas about, who you were and how this was going to go. and I just let it play out and watched it, and then I realized, oh well, whatever I'm imagining, it's wrong. So I'm just going to go ahead and sweep that to the side and show up and see what's there. And so I just couldn't have anticipated I'll start with the word easier and lovelier conversation. This was so easy, and you guys, sorry, you ladies.
No, that's okay.
Just have it. Pulled a few things out of me that I didn't even know I needed to talk about, but I really needed to talk about them, and it felt really good to get it out. So thank you.
Perfect. Sandy, take away.
Oh, I just love all the people that we've met on our podcast. And David, you're an amazing man. And I know that God made you for a very great thing, and that you're going to make a difference in the world where you impact, that your sphere of influence, you will make a difference. And I'm glad that you listened to that voice.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's very nice. Thank you.
And I just want to say, I'm glad you listened to your intuition when I reached out to you on LinkedIn and you decided to come on. Your story is going to reach a lot of people because you spoke from your heart, and those are the kind of people that listen in, to do this kind of work. And if you can encourage your client to come on, we're glad to have him on too.
Thank you.
So I'm going to push stop, but I want you to hang on just for a second until it closes. Okay, thanks.
Okay.